Hello folks, welcome to the first video of lesson 4, and I'm just going to show you quickly how to make a platform game. And in order to do that, we're going to be using something called the Y position, the Y coordinate today, very similarly to how we used the X position in the previous lesson. So what I've got is I've got a game. If I press the green flag, the cat's able to run around. When I press space, it jumps and it lands on these platforms. So essentially we've made a 2D platformer. It's not a scrolling one, that's quite complicated to do. But if any of you get there, that's great. But in the meantime, we can make these sorts of levels and we can make them move around. All right, so let's do that. We're going to create this and we're going to dive right in. So we've got a working on project, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the stage. I'm going to choose a backdrop and I'm going to choose one with blue sky. Really nice one. Obviously, if you look, the cat's a little bit too big from my example, so we're going to set the cat to 60. Yeah, 60 will be fine. We're also going to set the cat's direction left, right, and let's call the cat Meowth in this one. Okay, the next thing we're going to do then is we're going to click on the backdrop of the stage. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to edit this. I'm going to add some blocks in. So I'm just going to choose the rectangle tool, and the colour is going to be exactly the same as the bottom. And the reason for that is we want the cat to be able to detect when there's a platform, right? When its feet are touching a platform. So I'm just going to move that there. Move these slightly over from one another. Make this trickier than the one before, to be fair. But there we go. So hang on. Undo that. I'm just going to use the mouse pointer. And the beauty of this is you will be able to revisit your design later on in order to move these around just by using the mouse pointer. So your platforms can be moved once you've designed them. Obviously, you've got license to do whatever you want then. Okie dokie, so that is set up so far, and the cat should be able to jump onto this, then jump onto this, then jump onto this, then jump onto this, and that's what we're doing. However, in order for the cat to detect that it's touching a platform and not just kind of fall through it, we need to design some footwear for the cat. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it some little red shoes. Oh, isn't that sweet? So we go for the colour of red. I'm going to use the little oval tool, and I'm just going to spin that round a little bit for the back foot. And we'll move that out a little bit. There we go. Just resize it a little bit. So it's got some neat little shoes on. And I should be able to Control C to copy it. There we go, and Control V to paste. So Control C, Control V, they're copy and paste. And I've got the exact same shoe there. And there's these neat little shoes on my cat. Looks very happy with his new red shoes. And I'm just going to do the same for this one here. Hey presto, so we've got a cat with some neat red shoes on. And that's going to be really, really important for the next bit we're going to do. So I'm going to add some controls for Meowth. I've set Meowth's direction to left, right, so it doesn't spin when we move it around, and it's 60. We're now going to add some scripts, so we're going to go for an event, and we're going to do the usual when green flag clicked. So when green flag clicked, then a control, we're going for a forever loop. So once the green flag's clicked, it's going to keep searching to see if we have pressed one of 2 buttons. And you guessed it, they are the left and right. In fact, I'm going to bin that off. I'm going to do this really quickly now. So sensing, have we pressed the right arrow key? And if we have, we are going to point in direction 90, as we've done every lesson. We're going to give it looks. We're going to go for the next costume because the cat has 2 neat little costumes, and we are going to move 10 steps. Really simple. And we will duplicate, and we will click that there. Change that to left arrow, and then point in direction -90 for left. And so when we have the cat now, we should be able to move left and right. These neat little running shoes. But he's really chuffed with those. Okay, so that's been done. Now, we need to set it so that it jumps. So we'll make it jump. So we go to events. When green flag clicked, we go for another forever. So we go for a forever. another forever loop. It's going to keep looping. Obviously this keeps looping, and what it's looping is checking, has this been pressed, and then has this been pressed. If either has been pressed, these instructions get carried out. That's what's happening there. So forever, we're going to look for an event. No, we're going to look for a control, sorry. If, all right, space key pressed. So sensing key space pressed. We're going to go to motion, and here's what I'm going to explain to you. The y. So we're going to change y by 10. So what does y mean? We're not going to change y by 10. We're going to change it by 40. 40? Yeah, 40 should be fine. So I'm going to press green now. Both of these have been activated by the green flag event being clicked. And the cat's just jumping 40. So to understand y-axis a little bit more, so what I mean by the y-axis, I've just got a little bit of information for you. So the y-axis is where a sprite is positioned vertically, that's top to bottom. This is measured in pixels. The y-axis goes from -200 right at the bottom to 200, and we've got 0 somewhere in the middle. So a y position goes from -200 all the way to 200 with 0 in the middle. I'm just going to demonstrate that now in Scratch for you. In order to show the y position, the y-axis, well, the cat's position on the y-axis, we just go to y position. And I can now, if I press the green flag, if I press space, obviously it's increasing. And -12 plus 40 is going to be 28? 68, my bad. What's going on there? Changed by 40, it's jumping a lot more than that. Oh, right. It's jumping a lot more than 40. -135 should be just 5. There we go. Interesting. That's more like it, just a gentle tap of the keyboard. Gentle tap of the spacebar. If you press it too much, it jumps a little bit further. But there we go. We can see it should be close to 0 here. We've got, you see, if we move it up, it goes positive, and then move it down, it goes to the negatives. So 0 is somewhere in the middle here. Right at the bottom, we've got -200. And right at the top, we've got 200. So that's how the Y position works in Scratch. Okay, so I know now that when I press the green flag, it jumps. But how do I get it to fall? Well, I need to do a little bit more jiggery-pokery with this script. I'm actually going to minimize the screen here so you can see it a bit more effectively. So we don't want to go for if key space pressed. We want to do the opposite in terms of our test. So what we want to do is we want to do the opposite. We want it to fall first. I just wanted to show you obviously that we could jump. We want it to fall first. We want to get rid of that key space pressed. We want to change Y by -12 so it falls. Okay. And what we're going to go for is an operator, not key space pressed. Okay. We'll come back to jumping later. So while not key space pressed. So if I press the green flag now, it falls. However, if I move the cat up and I hold the key space down, the cat's not falling, it's just staying there. Let go of my spacebar, it falls. Hold my spacebar down, it stops falling. Let go, it falls. So we want it to fall unless the spacebar interrupts that. And I'm just tapping the spacebar, holding the spacebar down, and it just pauses. Alright, so that's the first little basic mechanism going on there. We need another little if to go in the middle of this. So we need to go back to control. Before we start it changing by 12, we need to put another if in. And this is where those cool little red shoes come in. So I'm going to put the change by -12 in here. So if the key space key's not been pressed, and also we're going to do another further test, then we're going to go for not. And the red shoes are not touching the brown platforms. So we're going to go for that. We're going to go for sensing. So the mouse's red shoes, the cat's red shoes are not touching platforms. So click on that. Select from a colour sample. Ah, no. Need to stop that first. I need to move the cat up. There we go. So there we go. That, and I'm just going to find, the cat's red shoes there. Alright. Are not touching the brown of one of these platforms. So it's really important to get your colours right. Then change by 12. So I've got two controls now going on. I've got the green flag. It stops as soon as it's landing on the platform. Alright, And if we move the cat left or right, it'll stop and it'll fall and stop touching the platform. But I can also interrupt that to stop it falling by pressing the spacebar. Yeah? And it'll stop also when it lands on the platform. So if I've not pressed the space key and the red shoes are not touching the ground, then keep falling. If either of those things happen, then we can't fall. This won't happen because these two conditions must be met. The spacebar must not be pressed and the red shoes must not be touching the brown platforms. Okay, that's the first part we need. But obviously, how do we get it to jump? Well, I need to actually change this set of blocks around again. I'm just showing you the logic obviously as we go through. This bit's fine, but this now needs to be an if else because the else needs to be jumping. So if we've not pressed the space key, don't do anything other than fall. However, if we have pressed the space key, which should be the opposite of this, we want it to move up. So it's all roundabout, isn't it? It works the opposite, but you got to take your time to work this out. Thankfully, I've done it for you. So we're going to go for not space key pressed here. We can just bin this one off. Why I say bin it off as well? There used to actually be a bin up here when you do that in the old version of Scratch. We're going to put so if not space key pressed, this block of code is going to go in there. Otherwise, we want it to jump. So otherwise, it's going to jump. So what we do is we go to motion and we change Y by, so in the opposite bit, change Y by 40. That's a fair enough one to do. And we're going to put this in here. So let's talk through the logic of this again. If the user's not pressed the space key and the red shoes are not touching the brown, keep falling. All right, because it's got forever, forever, forever. However, if I've pressed the space key, we ignore this block here and we focus on this area here, which is change Y by not 40, but minus 40. Right, silly me, I've made a mistake. Okay, however, if I've not pressed the space key, but the red shoes are touching the brown, then we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do this. All right, so that's the way it works. It's really crazy, but that's how to get platformers working. We'll make it a bit bigger now, and we'll run that just to make sure it's all working. So press space. Oh, I've done something wrong. Minus 40. It shouldn't be. It should be 40. I made a mistake twice there. See, it's just dropped down. So let's do that again. Jump. There we go. Right, jump. And you have a little cat. And it's doing that. Hey presto, you've just built yourself a platformer. Don't really like the way it jumps though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer into this just very quickly. The last thing I promise. So we're going to go to control. And instead of just jumping by 40, we're going to repeat, I'll say about 8 times. And we're changing Y by 12 each time. And just gives a smoother jump. So instead of just jumping, really jolting, it will kind of change 12 incrementally 8 times. All right, so let's do that again. So incrementally means just like in little installments. Yeah, it's a bit smoother, isn't it? I prefer that. Drop. Alright, now you've made some platforms. That's how to do it. And obviously you can combine all the other bits and pieces of Scratch you've learned so far to make a really neat platformer if that's what you want to do for your final project.